We had another day of testimony and turmoil in Washington, D.C., with more witnesses on the way. It's Ukrainian men, and it is amazing. So this afternoon, we learned that former National Security Advisor John Bolton has been invited to appear before Congress. He was fired last month by Trump, so that would be a fun one. Today, they heard from the Deputy Secretary of State, who fingered Rudy Giuliani in a smear campaign. And you know, I didn't mean that literally. Although, who knows with these people? You know how Trump keeps claiming the White House released an exact transcript of his call with the president of Ukraine? Well, not exactly exact. According to the top Ukraine advisor on the National Security Council, Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman, he was on the call. He says the transcript we saw left out key words and phrases, and he knows that because he tried to correct it unsuccessfully, I guess. He said the transcript the White House released was missing crucial details like Trump asking about recordings of Joe Biden, President Zelensky mentioning the company Hunter Biden worked for, and all the times the president burped into his McFlurry. They cut that all out. He also told Congress that he believed there was a quid pro quo and the president was personally blocking military aid to Ukraine to force them to investigate the Bidens, his opponent. And as if that wasn't enough, according to the Washington Post, the Ukrainians sent a delegation to the White House in July. The diplomats were going through their talking points about fighting corruption and all that stuff when Trump's guy, this Ambassador Gordon Sondland, brought up these investigations Trump was asking for. And at that point, John Bolton was so upset he stopped the meeting, kicked everyone out of his office, at which point Sondland took the Ukrainians down to the basement, which isn't suspicious at all. And Bolton sent one of his people down to follow them, and guess what they were talking about? Quid, pro, and quo, the three horsemen of extortion. But the president is still blaming everyone else for everything. He was up bright and early, lashing out. He wrote, the Republicans are very unified, energized in our fight on the impeachment hoax with the do-nothing Democrats, and now are starting to go after the substance even more than the very unfair process. Yes, totally. Totally unfair, almost un-American, you might say. And the president is probably pooping his underpants right now, too. The call with the Ukrainian president was a totally appropriate one. As he said, no pressure. This impeachment nonsense is just a continuation of the witch hunt hoax, which was going on since before I even got elected. Republicans, go with substance and close it out. Now, how does it how do you know how hard it is to tweet Republican? I mean, every phone not only underlines it in red, it'll triple check with you to see if that's what you really want. It's like if your barber, if you asked him for a bowl cut, he'd be like, are you sure? I mean, go ahead. Try to text someone Republican right now. It's almost impossible to do. If you misspell a word and then press the space bar, it corrects it automatically. You actually have to go back to misspell it, which means Donald Trump is so obstinate, he won't even admit he's wrong to his phone. Now, this was another interesting nugget. We have new details about what went down during the raid that killed the leader of ISIS over the weekend. The White House reportedly did not inform Trump's chief of staff about the operation. Mick Mulvaney was left in the dark, which isn't a great sign for him because this was kind of a big thing. According to White House insiders, the only thing Mick Mulvaney knows in advance is when Warby Parker is having a sale on tiny round glasses. So, and in the midst of all this, Team Trump is mad at, of all people, me. The Trump campaign is demanding that I issue a correction for something I said on Monday night. The director of communications for the Trump campaign, this guy Tim Murtaugh, tweeted, trying for a cheap laugh, Jimmy Kimmel Live last night repeated the long disproven lie. By the way, I said this Monday, the thing happens, I don't know how it's long disproven, but that the president was golfing during the al-Baghdadi raid, a Twitter lie pushed by Obama photographer Pete Souza. Real timeline was out way before Kimmel's show. He should retract and correct. And then he showed the timeline, and first of all, I looked into it, and he was right, actually. The information we had was incorrect. Trump was at one of his golf courses for the 238th time since taking office, but he finished the round and was back at the White House by 5 o'clock. Whether or not they were waiting for him to finish the round, I imagine Delta Force sitting in there in the choppers, locked and loaded, going, what hole is he on now? Because we'd like to, but nevertheless, I was wrong, and And I hereby officially retract and correct my statement because it's the right thing to do. And so now that that's behind us, maybe he will retract and correct what he said about me.
Jimmy Kimmel would meet me before the election. I'm telling you, true story. I don't even think you'd deny it. No talent, but I'd go to a studio to do a shot, you know, to do a thing. He would stand outside on the sidewalk waiting for me. Oh, here he comes, Donald Trump. Oh, he opens my door. I said, does he do this to everybody, to his people? He does it for nobody. Now, who knows? Maybe that was just, but he's waiting for me. 2 or 3 times I did a show before this all. Now I wouldn't do a show, that guy's terrible. But I do a show, and he's standing out on Hollywood, whatever, Boulevard, and he's standing there, opening up the door, like going crazy. Oh, hello. I wasn't president. I was like a guy, right? A guy with potential.
Yeah, well, so almost every word of that is a lie, other than I do it for nobody. That part is true. I do it for nobody, including him. I've never, and I assume when he said I was terrible, he meant terrific, which is what he tweeted about me before he was president. I don't, maybe that was a misspelling too. But as for this fairy tale he shared, here's a timeline of what actually occurred when Trump was on our show. At about 4:30 p.m., Donald Trump showed up in our back parking lot, not on Hollywood Boulevard, was greeted by a producer in his car like every other guest. I was not there to greet him, nor have I ever waited in the parking lot or anywhere for any guest outside. At 5:10 p.m., Trump walked on stage. First time I saw him, I shook his little hand, I interviewed him, and at 5:45, he left. And I probably went to Hooters next door. I have no idea. And I will be willing to testify to that under oath, as would the Secret Service who was with him at the time, I'm sure. So let me know, Tim, when the president will retract and correct that weird, detailed lie he made up about me. It's been more than a year. I'm waiting. And while you're working on factual accuracy, your boss has now lied in public approximately 14,000 times since he took office. So he should probably start the retracting and correcting soon because he's 73. Hi, I'm Jimmy Kimmel. I hope you enjoyed that video. Hit subscribe and all your dreams will come true, assuming your dreams are to watch more YouTube videos.